Zevi Litwin.
I remember the first time I met Rav Dovi was about a year ago in Camp Morishah. And
One second.
of course,
It's my mistake. We're going to have Zevi a little bit later.
you'll hear about Rav Dovi later. Everyone.
Okay, I'd like to call upon Sadia Tuckman. Apologies.
That's it. Alright, so I'm speaking about Moshe. It's been great getting to know you over this past year. It's right here. Alright, so it's been great getting to know you over this past year. You're an extremely warm person and you always have a smile on your face. I know whenever I enter or I'm leaving Hakotel and I see you, you always greet me with a huge smile, say a couple words, say hi. And as a Meshiv, you were always eager to help us prepare for Shir, clarifying whatever mefarshim we were doing and just making it a lot easier to be ready for Shir. But even more so, you would answer. You would be open to answering questions about other things also. If I came to you with a question not on Shir, you would always search for an answer and do your best to come up with an answer. But even more than that, if you didn't know an answer at first glance, you would always make sure that you did work to find that answer. You would, whether it was going to a rabbi and asking what he thought about the question I asked, or looking in different Sfarim and trying to find out yourself, you had that dedication that you wanted to give me that answer, and that I guess you thought I deserved that answer, so you were going to work your hardest to give me that. And then in terms of when you gave Shirim in the Sadia corner, so I very much enjoyed that, whether it was on Bechirat Tovshi or on Basheret, possible Basheret. That was just very inspiring. Also, I forgot to mention, your dedication can also be seen through just your daily schedule. The fact that you're learning in the YU Kola program and that you take your time to come to yeshiva and you I guess realize the importance of helping us grow stronger in our Torah, and you take your time away from learning on your own is just another great thing about you. Also, just I know that the Torah I learned from you, I'm certainly going to remember this year, and I'll especially cherish the Pnei Halacha, my signed copy of Pnei Halacha. Thank you for that, and thank you on behalf of everyone for everything you've done for us this year.
All right. I'd like to call next on Mr. Josh Lehman, and while he's coming up, I'd like to say two things. First of all, I've asked Rosh Hashiva, Rav Tuvia, Mati to come through during the event. I think it's very fitting that each person here should walk up and say a personal thank you. Even though some of the people at the top of the yeshiva, you may not interact as much as with the people, but they're the ones who keep the yeshiva going. And I think, we talked about the Hakaras HaTov yesterday, each person should make sure to thank each person in the yeshiva, the Rosh Hashiva, Rav Tuvia, Mati. It's free and it's good for you. Second of all, I want to thank Daniel Yehuda for coming here to the banquet today. We look forward to honoring him next year for all the work in With Hashem that he will do in the year to come. And those who haven't gotten to know him yet should make sure to get to know him before he leaves. Last of all, does anyone have the book, the writing in the book? Let me make sure it's not lying somewhere. Okay, wonderful. And without further ado, Mr. Josh Lehman.
I still remember the first conversation I ever had with Donnie Schwedel. We were standing up by the copy machine, making copies for a porn chair, and he comes up to me and he says, "Josh, I'm going to give you some musser. You're modern Orthodox shagets." And then he walked away. And that really stuck with me a lot. But if all you got out of this year was the sense of humor that Donnie has, and the way he loves to make people smile and share his jokes, it's really just a half of it. It's not even a half of it, because there's so much more to that funny little man. Whoever was in our porn chair at any point during the year and ever had the discuss of learning with Rav Donnie, he really just goes all out for everybody he learns with. And it's not just, oh, you ask him a question, he'll give you the answer, the question on Tosfos. He'll sit down with you and learn the entire Tosfos with you until you understand every single syllable of Tosfos. And if you try to move on without understanding every single syllable of Tosfos, he'll tell you to shut up. And every morning he walks in the base and says, "Who's going to have this discuss of learning with me this morning?" And it really is a discuss to learn with Rav Donnie every morning, even if it's just a joke. It's really true. And last but not least, even if you haven't been in a horn shiur or had the opportunity to learn with Rav Donnie, also just seeing him in the base, seeing him shtay, seeing him shuckle, his little shuckle, it's really just the most amazing thing ever, because he has such a commitment to Torah. And he's not here because, after high school people come to Israel for the year. I don't know if that also happens in Mexico, but he's been here for 12 years, because he probably just figures, I need to learn Torah for 12 years. And that's a really beautiful thing. And on behalf of the Yeshiva, I'd like to thank Rav Donnie and everything he's done for us. Anyone who's learned with him or seen him or even got a chance to share a smile with him, it's really been a great pleasure.
Moshe Raps for everything he's done in the course of the year. We want to thank Rav Schwedel, who is not a modern Orthodox shagget, for everything he's done. We look forward to continuing our relationship with both of them. And now, I'd like to find out who I'm calling up, and that is Donnie Cohen.
So we all look at Ariel Shemin, and we see the big beard, the flowing payas, the super yarmulke, and we say, wow, that guy probably lives in the middle of an Arab village in the Shomron in a caravan. And when I saw that, I said, wow, I want to go to him for Shabbos. But after finding out that he's married and he lives in a fairly populated place with his wife in a one-bedroom apartment, probably wasn't a good idea. People look at Ariel right now, and they say, wow, he must have come from like a really, really frum background. His parents must have been the base managers all day, probably didn't even work, probably just shying all day. And it's, I wouldn't say that it's quite the opposite, but it's far from it. And we look at Ariel, and we see the tremendous learning goals that he's had, which I'm sure none of you even know like the 1% of what he's done. People don't really know that he finished Mishnah Berurah in the army, and he memorized 365 mitzvos according to buttons in his tank, which I'm not really sure how that's possible. But at the end of the day, though, it might take us 50 years instead of 5, but I think that we can actually accomplish what Ariel has done. The thing that makes Ariel special about his accomplishments is that he does it with such anava. And it's an amazing thing to see that someone is able to accomplish so much and yet still not take it to his head that he's such a big gadol ador. That's the reason that he's such an amazing role model to all of us Shana Aleph guys, because we see his accomplishments, we see that we can still be in Anav and understand our place. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's been so many of us who have confided in him in the last year, whether it's by tzava or problems and learning goals or whatever it is. And he's really been Moser Nefesh to each and every one of us to be able to take care of our needs. I'm going to say one story because Rav Targin said 2 to 3 minutes. But I remember at the beginning of the year that we had some kind of, I think, Rosh Chodesh pancake breakfast. And about 15 of us go into the library, the English library, and we're sitting there, and Ariel's sitting on the side making pancakes. And he asks, are there 10 guys in the room? So we all look around and we're like, is he making a scheme on a pancake breakfast? And the answer was yes. And after some further pushing, we basically got him to say that he had just finished memorizing every single siman in Shulchan Aruch. And we're like, wow, that's kind of crazy. So, Ariel, I want to thank you on behalf of everyone here for showing us that the right way to become a Talmid Chacham, the real way of Ben Shorashut with such anova and Mesirat Nefesh. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to call upon now Mr. Peller.
I think just considering the fact that I was asked to speak, I think just considering I was asked to speak about someone who I wasn't in his shiur, and he wasn't my Sholem personally on a formal level. But I think it's telling of who Yosef Ginsburg or the Ginzer Rav is. It really is, what his character is and who he really is. I think Gins, an individual who was able to reach out to everybody in the base. He had an impact on everyone. He was able to inspire people just from the morning that he was there. I think people can tell you that a morning without a good morning rabbi or him trying to force you to have some of his coffee is something that's missing in the base. And on a little bit of a personal level, I would like to say thank you for besides for the inspiration that you've imparted upon me just from what I saw in the morning, but also the Torah that you taught me, or that you opened up to me in different facets and different understandings of Torah in terms of the Hasidic world of Torah. Whether it was forgetting to go to shiur because I got distracted because we were doing the Tzedel Katan with Kaplan of Noam Melech, or we were doing Yitzhak Shalom, which I told is quasi Hasidus. He taught me a lot. And he taught me how to carry myself and recognize all different types of facets and aspects of the Torah. And I think in a little bit of a more general way, he's an individual who I think had an impact on every single person who walks by. And he was able to have some sort of impact and inspiration on everyone that was around him. I think one of the many midos of Gins was specifically the fact that he probably embodied the midah of being mekabel as kol adam esever panim yafos. Every single morning, I think if anybody, every single morning I would get a hello, I'd get a handshake, whether I'd be in the middle of something or whether not. He'd come over and he'd say hi, just to wish me good morning, and I see that of everyone else also. He goes and he makes his effort to reach out his hand to every individual in the base. He actually just gave over on Shabbos in terms of the Meraglim. He said, I forgot who was the name of it, but he explained that there were two reports that the Meraglim gave over in that one sentence. They said Tova Aretz Ma'od Ma'od. He said the first report was Tova Aretz, that the land was good. The second one was Ma'od Ma'od, the fact that the land intensifies or amplifies a person in the land. It amplifies a person's existence and who they are. And the fault of the Meraglim was the fact that they viewed that amplification or that intensity in the negative or in the wrong direction. And I think what we can all learn from Gins, from just being here, of being among him and watching him, is that he truly taught us the intensity and the amplification of what living here, whether it had been just for a year for Shana Aleph, or whether it would be all of us who are going to be here Shana Bet, or whether it means living here. I think he really served as an example and an embodiment of, number one, of being Mikal everyone with Sefer Panim Yafot, of teaching us all the aspects of Torah that we can learn, and also intensifying and amplifying our potential and what we can possibly gain in this environment in Yeshiva and in Israel. And I thank you so much for that on behalf of me and all of Shana Aleph.
Thank you very much to the Rebbe for everything he does throughout the year, and to each of the Meshivim we're talking about. As we call up Mr. Ben Baruch, I'd like to welcome Akiva Buckman, who's dressed special for the banquet. Akiva Buckman was a staff member in Yeshiva over the last few years. After being a Talmud and a soldier, he's now on Shlichut in Toronto, serving in Or Chaim. It's an honor to have you here, Akiva.
Okay, so the Sifri, last week's parsha ago, says, Baruch Mikta, Shvacha Shaladam, Shabbafanam, B'chula Shabbafanam. So if anyone wants the full story of the parsha, come to me later. Quick story, it's not really a story. At the beginning of Zman, Rav Hash came up and said, what you're learning, so I told him what I was learning. He asked me if I wanted to have a chavruta into Sefta, on the Sefta I'm learning, and I think we can learn a couple of things from the story. One is that Rav Hash learns to Sefta, which is, Baruch Hashem, I've been looking to see that he's really like a book in many areas of Torah that like, people don't probably learn. And we can learn that we should all be osik, not just in Shas Bavli, but Yerushalmi, which is like Hashem has been learning with Rav Shesha, Sefta, all areas of Torah. And the second is that he was like willing to learn with me, also to learn with me. Rav Hashem really, I mean, like all the Kolo guys asked him questions, so he must know something. But he really, everything I've learned with him last one, I learned Choshen Mishpat with him there. This one we learned Masechta, like going through Masechta, like the whole Masechta of Sukkah, he like knows, we mentioned something, it comes up here, so he'll tell me it came up here. And he's really a huge book in a lot of things. He was answering Shiloh's for his community. I know that not so many, I mean like a few guys have really had this thought of learning with him this year, and everyone like able to ask him questions. I would really advise everyone to ask him for a chavruta next year, because really it was a huge zchut, and I'd like to thank him on behalf of me, on behalf of the Yeshiva, and Shabbat.
For those who did not yet form a kesher with Rav Hirschler, those coming back to Shana I don't think you'll find a bigger Talmid Chacham who's eager and anxious to answer questions in any yeshiva than Rav Hirschler. And I hope that those who haven't yet taken advantage of what he has to offer will make sure to do so next year. And now I'd like to call upon Jed Zadlow.
Kobe Fleischman, where's Kobe? Kobe, hey. So I was asked to speak about Kobe Fleischman today. I think right from the get-go we got we kind of got the idea of what Kobe Fleischman is from when he invited all of his shiur, all of Rav Cutler's shiur to his wedding. Even though he was just getting to know us, he'd only known us for a few weeks at that point. And he was just getting to know us at that point. He invited all of us to dance at his wedding. And, it really showed Kobe's dedication to what he does. That's afternoon Seder Meishiv, and, connecting to all of his Talmidim. And, if you were there and you got to dance with him in the middle of the circle and give him a hug, and it was like you've known him for years. But, it was only a few weeks, but it felt like years. So it's really amazing that he invited all of us to that, and it shows his dedication to all of his Talmidim, and how he wants to have a sincere and real relationship with each and every one of them. And he demonstrates that really during afternoon Seder. He comes, he says, he comes in, where are we holding, boys? And he's always eager to hear how we're doing, and he's a fantastic listener. When I smashed my phone, Kobe Kobe was first to ask me what happened, and he listened to me the whole time. I was like, oh, it was the best idea ever, and he was just listening and letting me express myself. Then the next day when I came in, he listened again when I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? So I really appreciated that. And he invites us over to his house often, and he had us over for a barbecue. And just to go on about the idea, Kobe is like, he's very sincere, and he tries to have a real relationship with every single one of his Talmidim, as well as he wants us to have a real relationship with Torah. Once again, he comes in, with a smile on his face, of course, and he comes in and he's looking and he asks, oh, where are we holding? And he wants to make sure that we're getting started and that we're learning, but also he doesn't want us to be just buttling if our head's not in the game. So if he sees that one day that our head's not in it for whatever reason, then he asks us, so tell me something that you learned, something cool you learned. What happened to Roberta Shear today? And we'll talk about Roberta. We'll talk about any other cool ideas that we heard. And Kobe's enthusiastic about hearing everything that we have to say. And it's something that Kobe said to me once really stuck with me was I told him I would love to finish Bava Kama, and he said, you don't want to finish Bava Kama, you want to learn all of Bava Kama. And that was something that really stuck with me, and I just want to thank Kobe on behalf of all of Shana Aleph, and come up here.
That's for you.
Okay. Shakoch to Kobe and Shakoch to Jed. It's been great having Kobe in the yeshiva for so many years since he was Shana Aleph, we remember. We look forward to continuing our kesher with him, and we'd like to call upon now Ilan Sher.
I was asked to speak about Doc Hawk. Many of you don't know, but Doc Hawk does have a first name. It is Carl. So before I came to Hakotel, there were very few kids that I knew. It was Tyler, Cass from camp, and Yehuda Brick, and a few other kids. But I asked, one of the kids that I knew was Justin Gage, and then I asked him, what are some tips that I can get from Hakotel? So he said that Hakotel is kind of like a video game. You can win the video game the normal way, but you can look for the hidden gems to get the bonus points. So one of the hidden gems that I found was Doc Hawk. So many of the things we don't know about Doc Hawk is at almost all the functions he takes pictures for everyone, and a lot of those pictures go up to newsletters that we don't read, but our parents care about some reason why, no idea why. And then I had the privilege of learning with Doc. So many of you he doesn't spend a lot of time here, but the time that you can get with him is very valuable time. And I would ask you again I'd ask you to take advantage of him, but I am, so there's no time for you guys. And one of the many valuable lessons, there were many things you can learn from Doc, but one of the most important things I learned was how to act on and off the court. Doc's one of the very few staff members who play with us. I had the privilege of him being on my team the first half, and then I had the privilege of having Dan Cass on my team the second time. And that there's many things I have a community with Doc in Philo, which I've learned a lot of great things. But on and off the court is where you learn a lot about a person from off the court and the way they are outside of their surroundings. So Doc put together a basketball tournament, and somehow he magically ended up with one of the best teams. Don't know how, and things didn't work out. But the way he handled it was that even though things didn't work out, he handled himself correctly, and that even though my team didn't win every single game, and I think he got crushed most games, but he handled it properly, and that's one thing that I really learned is that even when things don't go the right way, that you still need to act in the proper and the correct way, and take it as a lesson that not everything's going to go your way. You can plan, but God eventually laughs, and you don't always win everything. So it's one amazing lesson I learned from Doc, and thank you so much. And on behalf of me and Shana Aleph, we got you this amazing book that's wrapped beautifully, and we'd like you to accept this gift, please.
Someone's going to take a picture of us with someone else? Okay, the last speaker in this round. I'd like to call upon Avi Rabinowitz. Avi Rabinowitz.
Shosh. I know you really don't like when people talk about you, so I'm going to apologize in advance. Alright. So I know that you don't like everybody talking about you, but I'm just going to take solace in the fact that I didn't write you a poem this year. I don't think even in the
limited amount of time I had, I don't even think I could list all the things that you do, let alone adequately and properly thank you for all that you do for myself and everybody in this yeshiva and everybody in the program. All your hard work and your effort and the time that you put in makes our lives so much easier and simpler and more comfortable. We're so far away from home, and anytime we have a problem or an issue or something, or for me personally, chocolate in the morning, I'm always feel comfortable and happy to come over and talk. Whether it's student visas, having us over for Shabbos meals, or even the seemingly not nearly as important things like writing the letter to our parents weekly update that, allow us to not tell our parents exactly what happened that week. We really appreciate it, and all the hard work and time you put in lets us focus and direct all our energy towards what we're here for, which is Talmud Torah. And one of the reasons we're able to focus and be so much successful with our learning here, I think, is because of you. I just want to conclude with a story that I heard about you. A kid came to Yeshiva, and he asked, a prospective Talmud came, and he asked, "What's so special about Hakotel?" And the kid responded, "This and this and this." And then he said, "Every yeshiva has that. What's so special about your yeshiva? Tell me what's different." And the kid responded, looked down, and responded, and said, "We have shosh. That's what's different." And he brought him over to you and introduced you. So I just want to say thank you.
Shosh, first of all, I want to say thank you to all the people spoken about in this round, and I think what makes the Shalom Yeshivim and Hakotel special is that they don't just do their job. They're people who are way, way beyond the call of duty in caring and helping people. And I think it applies to everyone. Dr. Carl isn't just our psychologist, it's the basketball league, it's the pictures, it's the personal care, it's the Rav Soloveitchik Shir, each of the people we spoke about. But it really would be very incomplete and wrong if we didn't truly appreciate Shosh the way Avi spoke about her. And of course, Shosh is the office manager and does all those things that need to be done, and there's a lot of that. And especially this year, she had extra burdens that she really handled with the class. And Shosh is a very private person who doesn't like to be spoken about or honored, and therefore I apologize. But I really think Shosh, beyond the call of duty, as a mother for each and every one of you, makes the year very different. Because in order to succeed in your learning, you have to have that care. And if Hakotel is a caring place, and we try very hard that it should be, it expresses itself most in Shosh's efforts. And I think we all owe her a great debt of gratitude, and let's all show it together.